Hey everybody, this is Rainbow Reviews. Today we're reviewing Adventure Time Season 1 episodes. So I'm starting this new series. Basically, I'm going to rank every episode from each season on a tier list, kind of stack them against each other, and I'm going to do like a 30-second or even like a 1 minute explanation of the episode. You can kind of consider this like a spoiler review. It's hard to define in that category because I'm going to be going over like the comedy, if there was a plot twist and if it worked, or some good character building moments, or certain dialogue that I thought was funny or good, especially. So, you know what, just don't consider this spoiler yet, but when we get into the later seasons, because I am planning on doing this for every season, all 10 of them, if I make it that far. And yeah, let me know in the comments if you'd want to see more of this stuff in the future, or if you want me to see rank seasons of other shows. Like, I'm also considering doing like a regular show ranking. I think that would be kind of fun too. So I'm just going to start off with the very first Adventure Time episode, and it's Slumber Party Panic. Now, this episode, it was not the first episode that I watched to get into the series. Let's see, the series came out, first episode came out in early 2010, so I would have been like 7 or 8 years old. So I wasn't old enough to just get on the TV and watch every episode yet. But I went back and watched this very first episode, and I think it's a pretty decent introduction to the series. It's got some good comedy bits, so that's always a good thing. It has a particularly stronger story, like with continuing elements, and what I mean by that is stuff is set up in the first act of the episode that happens in the third. So Chekhov's gun, if you will, but that might be a strong term for just like an animated episode. But anyway, this episode also establishes character relationships between Jake and Lady Rainicorn and Finn and PB. So it does its job well as a very first introduction Adventure Time episode because Adventure Time has always been about the characters and the character relationships. It's like The Simpsons. There's so many characters and there's so many episodes that you can build off of them interacting with each other. So it's important to get the characters in Adventure Time right, their specific relationships in that point of time. And the first episode does this very well. So overall, it's a solid episode. It goes in the B tier. Now, the second episode, Trouble in Lumpy Space. Now, this is one of the funniest season 1 episodes, in my opinion. It immediately establishes the fact that the Land of Vu is a bizarre place, and it can lead to other worlds, which is an interesting take on a second episode for a show. You're just getting introduced to this world, and this second episode leaves that world and goes to a different one, introducing a different character from a different universe. So I thought that was interesting, and you think that might hurt the episode a bit or kind of mess with the pacing of the season 1 of the show, just getting to start watching the show as a whole, but it really doesn't. I mean, like I said, this is one of the funniest season 1 episodes. I don't know why. Just hearing Finn and Jake talk like they're all lumpy, quote unquote, is really funny in the end. And it's just got the same strong story, just like Slumber Party Panic. And it's just a really good episode all around. It's one that I can go back and watch just because it's a fun one to watch. So I'm going to also put this episode in the B tier. Now the third episode is a bit different. It's Prisoners of Love. Now, this episode has kind of a simpler premise. Basically, this one is that Finn and Jake are trying to free princesses from the Ice King, which, if you look back at the rest of the series, or look forward, I should say, this entire episode is an episode of itself. Like, the plot of Finn and Jake saving princesses wouldn't be enough to hold an episode in the later seasons, like it was for season 1, because they're establishing Ice King's character, but just that super simple premise would not have worked as a complete episode in the later seasons because we've already been introduced to these characters. So I can forgive it in that right, that it does establish the Ice King, even though it is a very simple episode, because yeah, they save the princesses, nothing else really happens in this episode, but that's okay. The comedy is also a bit sparse, or maybe there's not as many jokes per minute as Trouble in Lumpy Space, and not a lot of it hit home for me, But again, comedy is subjective, so who knows? Except for the opening joke, which is hilarious, and I love it. So this one is going to be a C tier. If it wasn't for the opening joke, it would be in the D tier. Episode number 4, Tree Trunks. So this episode, Tree Trunks, the story is okay. I'm just not a huge fan of her character, I guess. I just don't really find her funny. So this episode is going to be a little bit lower on the tier list. But the cliffhanger at the end saves this episode. And I think this puts Tree Trunks in a C tier. Again, she's not the best character to carry an episode. I think it worked in High Strangeness, but we'll get to that one in the later seasons. So yeah, it's going in C tier. Now, episode 5, The Enchiridion. This is definitely a step up from the last one. The plot of Finn learning to be a true hero is as classic as Adventure Time gets, as a lot of you know. It's a simple yet satisfying episode. Basically, Finn has to go to the top of Mount Cragdor to get the Enchiridion. Plus, the Enchiridion ends up being an important element throughout the rest of the series. There's great comedy, too. The joke with, stealing the giant's wallet is hilarious. So this one goes in the A tier. It's definitely a classic episode, and it's one of the first ones that I watched. Now, episode 6 is The Jiggler. Finn's auto-tune songs are great, but the rest of the episode is just kind of sad. The whole episode is just Finn and Jake trying to take care of this little creature they found, and they almost kill it because they can't take care of him. And there's a lot of gross out humor in this episode too. So yeah, it's kind of a sad episode. Wasn't a huge fan of it. This one goes in the D tier. Ricardio, the Heart Guy. So this is one of the better plots from season 1. I really enjoy this episode. It's a really fun one to revisit and watch again because Ricardio is a great character with an interesting personality. So basically the plot of this episode is Finn and Jake meet just like a guy who is literally a heart, and Finn gets jealous because of the heart is talking to Princess Bubblegum. So the comedy in this episode isn't super strong most of the time, but the story makes up for it because it is a really interesting twist. I won't get into the twist, but it is great of who this heart character is. The story makes up for the comedy lacking a bit because it's interesting and you're curious about who this character is and why he just showed up out of nowhere. So this is a great episode. I'm going to slide it right into the B tier. The next episode is Business Time. Now, this is probably one of the first episodes that I watched. It's an okay episode, I'd say. It plays off the idea that Finn and Jake become lazy and they don't want to adventure anymore. Well, they do, but they're just fat and lazy. It's a unique premise for an episode, but that's kind of it. So it's just okay. It's kind of basic. I'm going to say C tier. Now, the next episode is My Two Favorite People. This one, the story is basically that Jake is getting... He's like overbooking his schedule. He wants to hang out with Finn, but he also wants to hang out with Lady Rainicorn, his girlfriend. So he was trying to bring them together so they can all three hang out together. And this is an episode that really bounces springboards off of character interactions. So I always like to see those kind of episodes where all the sci-fi or whatever, the mystery element doesn't have to carry it. It's the characters that carry it, which does indicate stronger storytelling. So it's an interesting development of Jake's character especially, and his tendency to be jealous sometimes, which does get continuations of in the later seasons. So I think that's cool. The comedy is, again, it's mixed. Comedy is mixed in season 1 for me. It's just there's little batches of really great comedy here and there, but it's just kind of maybe it's just outdated humor because this show came out in 2010. Comedy is subjective and it does change a lot. So the comedy's mixed, but some stuff does work. Plus, the character of Tiffany is a national treasure. Fight me on that. This episode goes right into the B tier. Memories of Boom Boom Mountain. Now, this is a pretty good episode, I think. This episode is about Finn having to fix everyone's problems. This episode has a pretty nice conclusion, pretty good setup, pretty good everything. And we even get a bit of good lore reveals, where Finn was found, their parents, stuff like that. Honestly, I didn't connect with this episode like I did the last couple, but this one, it's alright. Pretty decent episode for season 1. So, good episode. It's C tier. It's average, I think. Now, the next episode, Wizard. This is a very classic episode. Probably one of the first ones I saw as well. It's also pretty funny. A lot of good jokes in it. It's got a relatively complex story too. Like Finn and Jake meet some wizards who say they can become wizards themselves, but then there ends up being some like evil intentions and backstabbing, and it's pretty good. This is an episode that I could watch any day, and it's a solid B tier episode. Now, the episode Evicted. I really like this episode too. It's a good intro for Marceline's character, and it also reinforces Finn and Jake's friendship by being there for each other. So, this episode is about Marceline, the vampire queen. Her character is introduced. She reveals that she had the treehouse before Finn and Jake did, and she kicks them out. And they have to, find a new home. That's what the episode is about. Now, obviously, this plot point doesn't stick for the rest of the series because they live in the treehouse for the rest of the series. But it's still really good, and the song House Hunting is a seriously underrated song. I love it. I can listen to it all the time. This is also a solid B tier episode. Alright, so the next episode is City of Thieves. So this is a pretty unique episode premise, and I like the premise. The concept is basically that Finn and Jake go to a city where basically everyone is a criminal, and criminality is the essential economy of the city. And that's a pretty cool premise, but I wish they did a bit more with it. The story is just too straightforward for me. I don't really remember a lot of what happens. I mean, obviously I had to go back and watch most of it for this review, but it's not really a memorable episode, so it's very straightforward. It's not terrible. It's just pretty forgettable. I would say D tier, and it could have been done better. The next episode, though, is a lot better than this one. It's The Witch's Garden. This is like a funny episode. The story is that Jake loses his powers because he ate a witch's donut. That just sounds hilarious, and I love that the Adventure Time crew can come up with wacky episodes like this. So, an interesting thing about this episode that I didn't realize until just now, Adventure Time retconned Jake's origins, because in this episode, the joke, quote unquote, is Jake saying that his powers came from a mud puddle, which was probably just a one-off joke for this episode, but they retconned it in later seasons because he was kind of birthed from a puddle into a puddle. You'll know what I'm talking about if you've seen that episode. But yeah, it's really funny, and we do get a bit of character origins, so that's definitely a plus. The comedy is pretty strong. The joke at the end where Jake takes her donut again is hilarious, and it's one of my favorite jokes in the series. So yeah, this episode is a solid A tier episode. I really like this episode. I can go back and watch it anytime. And the next episode is a bit more of a middle in the road for me. It's What is Life? And this is the one where Finn creates Nepter by just getting him struck by lightning. And in my opinion, this episode is just alright. It's about basically as average as you can get with season 1 of Adventure Time. I remember most of the episode, but some of it is just kind of, comedy's We do explore some more of Ice King's Mountain though, so that's pretty cool. That is pretty cool when we get to see some of that in episodes. So yeah, this one's pretty average, I guess. I'm gonna say C tier. Alright, a lot of you probably recognize the next episode, Ocean of Fear. This is definitely a classic episode. It's a great episode. Season 1 classic, as Finn tries to overcome his fear of the ocean. This fear of the ocean was also retconned later, because, it turns out that Finn was born on a raft in the ocean, and that's why he's afraid of it. So it's a pretty brilliant retcon, and it's amazing that it stretches this far back in the series. The story of Ocean of Fear is very engaging, and the execution is great. An A-tier episode. I like it. It's an all-around great episode with great characters, great comedic timing, and just a very nice story. It's a casual story, but it is a character development one, and those are always great. The next episode is When Wedding Bells Thaw. Now, a lot of you probably don't remember a lot about this episode because it is very simple, if you're noticing a theme here, it's that a lot of the plots of season one of Adventure Time are very simple and straightforward. But that's okay when a show is just starting out, and finding its footing. Finn and Jake help the Ice King get married in this episode. And, there's some, like, bachelor party hijinks and whatnot. And, like, being at the actual wedding and stuff going wrong. It's a simple story again, but it's pretty well explored, I'd say. Not quite as well explored as Ocean of Fear, but it does its job well for a simple episode. Develops the Ice King's character, Finn and Jake's character. It's nice, and the character interactions from these three characters are actually pretty great in this episode. They're a lot better than I thought they'd be. I went into this episode expecting something kind of lackluster, but I left with something that was pretty nice. It's a nice casual episode that's pretty good. It goes right in the C tier. Now the next episode is Dungeon. I didn't know this episode existed, to be honest with you. It's as basic a plot as you can get in Adventure Time, but it's got some of that Adventure Time flair, which is nice. I mean, it's just called Dungeon, and the story is just them going into a dungeon. That's really like the pure season one Adventure Time stuff, basically. But it's got pretty good comedy, nice characters they throw into the dungeon, an all-around solid episode. It might not be super memorable, because again, I didn't even know it was a thing, but you can't deny that it's pure Adventure Time Season 1, and that's never a bad thing. So, yeah, this episode's going in the C tier as well. Okay, next episode is The Duke. So, I didn't really remember this episode going into this rewatch, but I didn't really remember it as all too engaging, but then I rewatched it, and I've actually grown to like it a little bit more. It's another simple but well-executed episode, as some episodes of Season 1 are. So, basically in this episode, Finn accidentally turns Princess Bubblegum green through like this potion that he accidentally threw at her, and she blames the Duke of Nuts, some character we've never heard of before. But there's some good character development from Finn, and there's some really good comedy bits from the squirrel that hates Jake. And I love that squirrel character. He's hilarious every time he's on screen. But yeah, this it's pretty alright. It did a little bit better on the rewatch than I thought it would, so I'm going to give it a solid C tier. A lot of C tiers in this season 1, but I think we'll get up to more classics in the later seasons, which is unexpected, but still. Okay, next episode is Freak City. So this is our first Magic Man episode, and Magic Man as a character, I don't find him like super engaging all that much, but he does kind of take precedence in later seasons. He's a big driving force of the series finale as well. So, like when his character started out, I just found him a little bit annoying, but he gets better with time. So this episode it doesn't have a lot of great comedy, but Finn's auto-tune song was good. I love Finn's auto-tune songs. They're some of the best songs in the show, in my opinion, and we don't get a lot of them, which is a shame. But this one has a good one. But other than that, this episode is just a little boring, I guess. I'm still going to put it at the C tier, but if it didn't have the songs, it would probably be like D or F tier, because there's not much running for this episode other than some introduction to Magic Man and this auto-tune song. Now the next episode is Donnie. D tier. Alright, so the next episode is Henchman. Now this is a very solid Marceline episode. There's not too much comedy, but the story is good enough to carry the episode. It's basically the premise of this episode is Finn becomes Marceline's henchman for the day, and they're getting into situations that look bad, but then they end up not being so bad. So it's not a bad episode plot, but it's executed fairly well. And Marceline's character starts to form in this episode. So her character is really starting to form. It's starting to come to light. So that's a good thing. So I'd say this episode is B tier. It is better on rewatch. The next episode is Rainy Day Daydream, and this is a very classic episode with an interesting premise. So basically, Finn and Jake are stuck in the treehouse when it's raining swords or knives or whatever, and they have to use their imagination to go on an adventure. And it sounds boring, sounds kind of immature for Adventure Time, but they do a pretty good job with this episode. They implement character and situational comedy very well. There's lots of comedy in this episode, and most of it lands pretty well. So yeah, I'm gonna give this episode on the B tier. This goes in B. Now this next episode is What Have You Done? And going into this episode again, I completely forgot what it was about. But it's that one where Ice King causes like a plague in the Candy Kingdom, and Finn and Jake have to bring in the Ice King, like to have him in prison. And this episode is hilarious. It might be the funniest of season one, right up there with Trumple and Lumpy Space. This episode has so much good Ice King comedy. If I were to recommend you'd go back and watch any season one episode, it would probably be this one, because I had myself laughing out loud, and as I'm talking right now, I'm remembering the jokes, and they're so funny. So a great comedic episode. Ice King has some great lines, and he really carries this episode. The story is just okay, really, kind of bland, but the comedy is off the charts, and it's great. So I almost gave this one an A tier. It goes in B, but it's more of like a B plus, really. It's a great episode. Alright, next episode is Finn Meets His Hero. So this episode is basically Finn and Jake meet Billy, a warrior from the past. And this episode has good character development episode for Finn. So develops his personality a little bit. He goes through some more trials about learning how to be a real hero. And Billy is a really nice contrast for Finn. That's what I've always loved about this episode, is how these two characters really contrast with each other, much like Finn is always contrasted with Jake. It's it's a good development. And so this was overall a solid episode with good character development, and I'd say C tier. It's average. The character development, I know I keep saying that, but the character development really kind of carries this episode. It's its main meat on the bones, and it does well with what it's given. So yeah, C tier. Now the season finale is Gut Grinder. I did not expect this to be the season finale, but I'm not disappointed either. It's a unique episode with good Jake character development this time. So again, contrasted with the last episode, which was a very Finn-centric episode. This one is a Jake-centric episode. It's a pretty good season one finale, not like a lore-filled finale like the series finale is or anything, but it's a good episode, and it's a pretty good ending to the first season. So yeah, not bad. I'd say this is a B tier episode. Alright, so that was my tier list for season one of Adventure Time. I really enjoyed doing this. It was really fun. Let me know if you want me to do anything like this in the future. I might go on to like the other 9 seasons, or I might do other shows. Let me know what you think down in the comments below. Be sure to leave a like and subscribe, and thanks for watching.